There's a world of difference between appropriate action and desperate defense. When you truly understand that there is no separate self to protect, you become like water. Water doesn't argue with the rocks in its path. It doesn't build walls against the wind. It simply flows around, over, and through whatever it encounters. And in doing so, it eventually shapes everything it touches. Consider the pahas. Every time you defend yourself, you are actually confirming that there is something to defend. You are reinforcing the illusion of separation, the belief that you are a fragile ego that can be damaged by words, by opinions, by the thoughts of others. But what if you simply didn't take the bait? What if, when someone criticized you, you listened with genuine curiosity instead of immediate defensiveness? What if you could hear their words not as an attack on your precious identity, but as information, as feedback, as another wave expressing itself in the vast ocean of consciousness? I once knew a woman who spent her entire life explaining herself to others. Every decision she made, every choice, every preference had to be justified, defended, made acceptable to the invisible jury she carried in her head. Exhausted herself trying to prove that she was good enough, smart enough, worthy enough. And then one day, something shifted. She realized that she had been putting herself on trial for crimes that existed only in her imagination. How exhausted self. She had been defending herself against accusations that no one was actually making. The moment she stopped defending, something extraordinary happened. People stopped attacking, not because they had changed, but because there was suddenly nothing to attack. As she had become like the sky, vast and open, untroubled by the weather that moved through it. You see, most of what we call attack is actually just other people expressing their own confusion, their own fear, their own desperate need to be right about something in a world that often makes no sense at all. When someone criticizes you, they're usually telling you more about themselves than they are about you. The man who calls you lazy is often terrified of his own capacity for stillness. The woman who accuses you of being selfish is usually struggling with guilt about her own needs. The person who attacks your choices is frequently questioning their own. But when you take these projections personally, when you defend against them, you become entangled in their confusion. You enter into a dance of mutual delusion, where both of you forget that you are playing roles in a cosmic drama. What would happen if you simply stepped out of that dance? What if you refused to play the game of attack and defense? This doesn't mean becoming indifferent or cold. It means recognizing that true strength comes not from building walls, but from having no walls to maintain. True security comes not from defending a position, but from having no fixed position to defend. Think about this paradox. The more desperately you try to protect your image, your reputation, your sense of self, the more fragile and vulnerable you become. You're like someone trying to carry water in a basket. The harder you try to hold it, the more it slips through your fingers. But when you stop grasping, when you stop trying to control how others see you, you discover something remarkable. You are already complete. You are always complete. The approval you are seeking, the validation you are chasing, the respect you are demanding, none of it could add anything to what you already are. There's an old story about a master who was falsely accused of fathering a child in the village. The townspeople came to him with their outrage, their condemnation, their demands for explanation. The master simply said, "Is that so?" and took the child to raise as his own. Years later, the real father was discovered, and the same townspeople came back with their apologies, their praise for his patience, their admiration for his character. And again the master simply said, "Is that so?" and returned the child to its true parents. Do you see what he was doing? He wasn't defending himself when attacked, and he wasn't puffing himself up when praised. Not because you don't care, but because you know that what you truly are cannot be touched by words, by opinions, by the temporary storms that blow through human consciousness. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you stop defending yourself, you also stop attacking others, because you realize that there is no other to attack. The person who annoys you, who challenges you, who seems to oppose you, is simply another wave in the same ocean, another expression of the same underlying reality. The mystics have always known this. They speak of the fundamental unity that underlies all apparent diversity. They see through the game of separation the illusion of isolated egos battling each other for supremacy. When you truly see this, when you really get it in your bones, something wonderful happens. You can engage fully with life without being at war with it. You can play your part in the human drama without taking it so seriously that you lose your sense of humor about the whole thing. You become like an actor who knows he's on stage. He can play the role of the hero or the villain with complete commitment, but he doesn't go home at night believing he actually is that character. Let's now start out. He knows it's a performance, a dance, a game of consciousness exploring itself through countless forms. Now you might ask, but what about justice? What about standing up for what's right? If I never defend myself, won't people walk all over me? Won't evil triumph? Now, these are good questions, and they point to an important distinction. There's a difference between personal defense and appropriate response. There's a difference between protecting an ego and protecting what genuinely needs protection. When you stop defending yourself, you don't become passive, you become responsive. You respond to situations from clarity rather than reactivity, from wisdom rather than wounded pride. If someone is spreading lies about you, you might choose to correct the record, not because your precious reputation is under threat, but because truth serves the whole situation better than falsehood. If someone is behaving in ways that harm others, you might choose to take action, not because they have offended your personal sense of right and wrong, but because the welfare of the community calls for a response. But you do these things without the emotional charge of personal defense. You act from the place of seeing what the situation needs, rather than what your ego demands. This is the difference between being a warrior and being a reactor. The warrior acts from center, from clarity, from connection to the whole. The reactor acts from fear, from separation, from the desperate need to protect a self that was never actually under threat. Let me share something with you that might sound radical. Most of the things you think you need to defend yourself against are not actually happening. They're happening in your imagination, in the stories you tell yourself about what other people think, about what their words mean, about what their actions say about you. You continue, it's part of. You create an entire drama in your head where you are the victim and they are the villain, and then you exhaust yourself defending against this imaginary attack. Meanwhile, the other person might not even be thinking about you at all. They might just be having a bad day, or expressing their own confusion, or simply being human in all the messy, imperfect ways that humans are. But even when someone is actually criticizing you, even when they're genuinely trying to hurt or diminish you, your refusal to defend doesn't make their attack more powerful, it makes it powerless. Think about it. If you throw a ball at a wall, it bounces back with equal force. But if you throw a ball into space, it just keeps going until it runs out of energy and dissipates. When you refuse to be the wall, when you become the space instead, the attack has nowhere to land. This is not weakness. This is the ultimate strength. It's the strength of the sky that is never wounded by the storms that pass through it. It's the strength of the ocean that is never diminished by the waves that rise and fall on its surface. And here's the beautiful thing. When you stop defending yourself, you give others permission to stop attacking. When you refuse to play the game of combat, you create space for genuine communication, for real understanding, for the kind of connection that's impossible when everyone is busy protecting their positions. I remember watching two friends argue once. One was defending his political views, the other was attacking them. Back and forth they went, each one building higher walls, each one more convinced of their own righteousness. Neither was actually listening to the other. They were just waiting for their turn to reload their weapons. But what if one of them had simply said, "You know, I hear that you see things differently than I do. Help me understand your perspective." What if instead of defending their position, they had become curious about the other's position? The entire dynamic would have shifted. Instead of enemies, they would have become fellow travelers, comparing notes about the landscape of life. This is what happens when you stop defending yourself. You continue by the pointer. You create space for real dialogue, for genuine meeting, for the kind of exchange that actually changes people instead of just reinforcing their existing positions. But the deepest reason to never defend yourself has nothing to do with tactics or strategy or getting better results in your relationships. The deepest reason is that defense is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of what you are. You are not a thing that can be threatened. You are not an object that can be damaged. You are the awareness in which all experiences arise and pass away. You are the consciousness that observes all thoughts, all feelings, all sensations without being touched by any of them. When someone criticizes you, when they attack your character or question your motives, they are interacting with their idea of you, their mental image of who they think you are. But that image is not you. It's just a thought in their mind, no more real or threatening than a shadow on the wall. The real you, the awareness that is reading these words right now, the consciousness that has remained constant through all the changes of your life, that you cannot be defended because it cannot be attacked. It is like space itself, vast and open and untouchable. This is what the sages mean when they speak of the how with a capital S. Not the small self of personal history and individual preferences, but the large press that is identical with the source of all existence. When you realize that this is what you truly are, the need for defense simply evaporates. You see, we defend ourselves because we believe we are separate, isolated entities that must protect ourselves against a hostile world. But this separation is an illusion, a trick of consciousness that allows the universe to play hide and seek with itself. In reality, there is only one self appearing as many. There is only one consciousness expressing itself through all the apparently separate beings. When you attack another, you are attacking yourself. When another attacks you, they are attacking themselves. This is why defense is ultimately futile. It's like the right hand trying to protect itself from the left hand. It's like one wave trying to defend itself against another wave, forgetting that they are both the same ocean. When this understanding dawns, when you really see that there is no other, that everything and everyone is a disguise worn by the one self, then defense becomes not only unnecessary, but impossible. How can you defend against yourself? How can you protect the ocean from the ocean? And so we come to the paradox that lies at the heart of spiritual wisdom. The way to be truly invulnerable is to have nothing to protect. The way to be truly strong is to offer no resistance. The way to be truly free is to defend nothing. This doesn't make you a pushover. It makes you like water, which is the softest thing in the world, yet can wear away the hardest stone. It makes you like space, which offers no resistance to anything, yet is never damaged by anything. When you live this way, when you move through the world without the constant need to defend and justify and explain yourself, people notice something different about you. There's a quality of ease, of freedom, of unshakable peace that draws them like flowers turning toward the sun. You become a sanctuary for others, a place where they can lay down their own weapons, their own defenses, their own exhausting need to prove themselves. This is the gift you give to the world when you stop defending yourself. You demonstrate that it's possible to live without armor, to walk through life with an open heart, to be fully human without being constantly at war with other humans. And in the end, this is what we all long for, isn't it? To be accepted, to be seen, to be loved. Not for our achievements or our arguments, but for what we are beneath. all the roles and masks and protective layers. When you stop defending yourself, you give yourself this gift. You stop requiring others to validate you. Before you can be at peace with yourself, you stop making your happiness dependent on winning arguments or changing minds or getting approval. You discover that you are already what you were seeking. You are already acceptable, already worthy, already complete. Not because of anything you've done or achieved, but because of what you are at the deepest level of your being. And from this place of completeness, from this recognition of your true nature, you can engage with life fully and freely. You can speak your truth without needing others to accept it. You can act according to your values without needing others to approve. You can be yourself without needing others to understand. Good night. This is the ultimate freedom, not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to be what you are without apology, without defense, without the constant anxiety of whether you're measuring up to some imaginary standard. So the next time someone criticizes you, the next time you feel that familiar urge to defend and explain and justify, remember this: you are not what they think of you. You are not even what you think of you. You are the vast awareness in which all these thoughts and opinions arise and pass away like clouds in an endless sky. Rest in that awareness. Be that sky. Let the weather of human drama move through you without being disturbed by it, and discover for yourself the profound peace that comes when there is nothing left to defend.